Welcome back. This would be episode 3. We're going to call episode 3 Depression. All right, my name's Chad Hawkins, and I'm going to go through my life experiences. By no means am I a professional. By no means do I have any clue of what I'm doing except for the experiences that I have went through in my life. And I'm going to run these series without correcting anything, without fixing anything. So the mistakes that I make on this series and in my life, you'll get to see those. You'll get to see the journey and the process in which I'm going through. So right now we've went through the first 2 episodes, Awaken and Compound. Awaken was pretty simple. It was waking up to the fact that I was lying to myself, waking up to the fact that I was lying to my partner Mandy, waking up to the fact that I was lying about who I was as a businessman and the reality that I wasn't showing up. Okay. And a funny story is last night, Mandy kind of called me out on my shit again. And I found myself wanting to fall back into like that old version of myself where I attacked her and I defended myself and I made excuses for my actions. And at the end of it, I just ended up owning my shit because it's sometimes easier to just own your shit instead of just constantly compound the lies, which is what brought us into episode 2 was compound. You can either compound the lies or you can compound the truth. And I'm just to the point in my life where I'm tired of compounding the lies and I'm tired of compounding the bullshit and trying to keep up with that. It's easier. It's harder, but it's easier. It's harder in the aspect that you have to let go of your pride and you have to let go of your ego and you kind of have to swallow the shit and say, yeah, I'm being a bitch, or yeah, I'm fucking this shit up. And I think sometimes as humans, that's really hard for us to do, is to sit where we're at and accept the reality that we created this shit. So Awaken was the process after 8 months or whatever it might have been going through Garrett White's different training and podcast and processes to get me to see what I wasn't seeing. And Compound was the concept that we have two decisions to make in our life. We can either choose to compound building our family, building ourselves, building our relationships, building our business, or we can choose to compound the opposite way, which is what I think I've done for a long time and why I'm sitting where I'm at and having a lot of things fall apart in my life. So there's a lot of good things that have happened this year, and there's a lot of bad things that have happened this year. And I think that's a lot of the reason why I have been able to come to episode 3, which is depression. And I want to say that I've been sitting in this area for 2 months, maybe, let's say. The beginning of the year, I had a really good jump on the year, and I started listening to Garrett White. I started taking in exactly what he was saying, and I still to this day I 100% believe in exactly what he's saying. It's really simple. You pick the areas that matter in your life, and I think that's something really hard for us to understand. And I think even after we pick those areas as humans, it's easy for us to fall back into the same routines, the same mindset, and the same habits. And I had to see, I went all in, right? I went all in. I completely changed all these different things in my life. And then I got to a point where I didn't see the results, or I didn't see the benefits right away, right? And I think this is a big thing that I do, and I think a lot of humans do, is if we don't get the result that we want right away, if we don't get the change or the income or the relationship, if we don't get it right away or soon, right? Like as humans, we want things done within a week, within a month, within a couple months. And if that doesn't happen, then we kind of just give up on ourselves. And it's funny because I train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and if I put that mentality into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, well, then I would have failed a long time ago because I clearly didn't get the results that I want right off the bat. In the beginning, I lost a lot. I got my ass kicked a lot. And it was through those ass kickings nonstop every day that I was able to start to obtain success or achieve success. So it's silly for me to sit here and think that within 2, 3, 4, 5 months that my entire world should change, that I should just, become wealthy, and that my partner should just be the happiest person in the world, and that my daughter should be a completely new human, and my business should just thrive, right? It's something that you have to work at every day. And I think that's a big struggle for a lot of us, is because it's easier for us to go jump on a video game and get instant gratification. It's easier for us to go watch porn, or it's easier for us to listen to somebody else in a text and get gratification from them instead of your own partner, and to justify that in your head, well, my partner's not giving me this, so I can do this, this, and this. And if you really want the relationship to work and you want your life to grow, you can't take the easy road. You can't take the quick satisfaction and think that at the end of this road that you're going to have any type of success in your relationship, your family, your business, or yourself. You have to make the decision to commit to what it is you are doing, right? And I think that for me, I committed to my business, I've committed to my partner, I've committed to my family, I've committed to improving myself, but I found myself falling back into old habits and old routines. And the nice thing is that Mandy called me out on my shit the other day, and I have to give her, I have to give her praise for that, because the old me would have been a narcissist. The old me would have sat here and degraded her or told her, and I did that a little bit, and I caught myself, and I was like, okay, because here's the thing, relationships are 50-50, okay? Sometimes maybe one person will give more than the other, because we're humans. We're going to go through problems, There's days that she is down on herself, and there's days that I'm down on myself. And that, I think, is the hardest thing, is not to feel constantly attacked by your partner, okay? We have to stop. I have to stop pointing fingers at her, and I have to start listening to her more. And that's really hard for me, because that's not the environment in which I grew up in. Listening to my partner, choosing my partner, understanding my partner is nothing that I experienced in my life, ever. Degrading my partner, yelling at my partner, controlling my partner is pretty much how I've spent my entire 39 years. And I can see why every relationship that I've ever had has failed. And that's a hard truth to accept. But if we have to get to a place where we accept the truth, and we're okay with the truth. And I don't know why, as humans, we're so scared of the truth. I don't know what it is that makes our egos, our pride, whatever it is. I have this struggle with my daughter a lot, where she's 5 years old, and I know that she's gotten a lot of bad habits from me. I mean, unfortunately, the first 3 years, 4 years of her life, she got one of the worst versions of me as a father, and how I treated her mother and how I acted, right? That's how she grew up. So I'm having to completely rescale and shift and be a different version of myself, and have her see that it's okay to tell the truth, that it's okay to be honest, that it's okay for us to work through these little things. And she's grown a lot. Our relationship's grown a lot. There's been a lot less screaming and fighting and bickering, and it's been more peaceful. But it's one of those things that every day you're going to have to put the work in. Every day you're going to have to hold yourself accountable to not pointing fingers at anybody else, but pointing fingers at yourself, and ask yourself how you're showing up in the relationship. And I watch, we all watch motivational things. We all watch different things, and it's funny because in our brain we watch these things so that we can point them out to our significant others, or we can say, hey, look, see what they said? You need to show up better. You need to do this. And what we don't realize is that your partner isn't going to be receptive of that, okay? Anytime that you come at your partner telling them they need to change or that they're wrong, they're immediately going to put the wall up, just like you put the wall up. So the only way that we're actually going to get through this process and fight out of this pit, fight through this fog, fight through this barrier that you're creating is for you to own your truth. And own your truth without any expectations that the other person will change. I think my biggest fault this year is that I've made all these changes, and I say this line a lot. I made these changes for you, Mandy, but the reality of it is if I'm making the changes for her, am I really making the changes for the right choice, the right decision? You know, am I making the changes in a healthy way, or am I making the changes in a way that I'm setting up expectations, and if those expectations aren't met, then I'm gonna go fall back into who I was, and the whole process of the change will fail? Because that's a lot of what I've done this year, and it's hard for me to accept that, but it's awesome to see last night. Okay, last year in December, Mandy and I had one of the worst fights that we've ever had. It was horrible, to the point where we were done. I have no clue how the relationship survived last year. So I made a huge change in my life, but the change has to be for me because I want to be a better person, because I want to be a better partner, because I want to be a better father, because I want to be a better business person. And I have to show up in those areas. And if the areas fail, but I've shown up, then at least I can say that I showed up. Okay? Nothing in this life is going to be 100% given to you, and nothing in this life is going to 100% work. You can do everything right in a business and it can fail. You can do everything right in a relationship and it can fail. That's just the facts about it. And I think a lot of people right now in the world don't want to show up in a relationship because they're so scared of that relationship failing, or them getting cheated on, or the person not being loyal, or whatever the other 1,000 things that they're going to make an excuse about. They don't show up, and then they wonder why the relationship fails. Well, the relationship fails because you're not giving yourself to that person anymore. People don't give each other to each other anymore. It's everybody holds back, and they hide in their phones, and they hide in their networks, and they hide in their homes because they're so damn scared to sit down and be vulnerable. And that's the area that I've had to really get to it this year. So I appreciate the fact that Mandy called me out of my shit, that I was starting to kind of exist in the same frame that I used to exist in. And I caught myself, I shifted, and I was like, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry. I'm going to make the changes, and I'm going to correct the course. And luckily, it was a very small area that I had fell back into. You know, it's not like I was getting into anything that was being detrimental to our relationship, but it's nice that I've put all the truth out there. I've owned all my shit, that now when I'm called out on this little shit, it's not life ending anymore. Now it's like, you know what? I can make that change. I'm doing this stupid habit. I don't need to do that habit. So it's cool that we've gotten through that shit and that we can get to this place. Now, the biggest thing that I've struggled with this year is this aspect of actual depression. And I think some people sadly use depression as a crutch so that they can kind of be a victim and get the attention that they want. But you got to be honest with yourself again, you know. You really have to be honest with yourself. You know, if you're in depression and you're doing nothing to fix the depression, you're doing nothing to climb out of the pit, you're doing nothing to walk through the fog and start to see the light again. If you're just existing in the same frame and you're saying, I'm depressed, my life sucks, that I kind of have a problem with, okay? And I get it, okay? I get it because many days in these last few months, I've sat in bed and said, what's the point? You know, my business is existing about the same level. It's not really getting anywhere. It's kind of just staying the same, even though I'm showing up and trying to make a difference. You know, my relationship with Mandy has kind of fallen back because we've become so busy and life has been so crazy, and the economy's kind of like pushed us down into this pit that sucks, where it feels like you can't climb out of it. And I feel like everything's just kind of fallen into this existing stage where in my mind, I'm like, what's the point? What's the point in waking up? What's the point in doing these podcasts when nobody's going to watch them? What's the point in showing up to work when students won't communicate to me and tell me what's going on and allow me to have a conversation with them and create a difference so that we both can improve each other's lives and improve other people's lives? I started just falling down this like massive pit of being a pity party basically. And even these podcasts, like I've struggled with so much because I don't know exactly the right direction to go sometimes. And I think that, I have this issue a lot lately. Maybe other people do, but it's like everything that you throw at the wall right now, everything that you try to accomplish seems like all it can do is fail. It just makes nothing you do will actually pay off, or nothing you do will actually make a difference. And that's a really big struggle to mentally process. Okay? And I sat in that pit, and I sat in that pit, and I finally got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I have to climb out of this. I can't stay in this same frame for the rest of my life and make any difference in my life. I'm 39 years old. I'm about to be 40 years old. And you got two choices in life. You really do. You got the choice where you can sit in that same place for the rest of your life and you can exist there and you can die there. Okay? Even though you're still alive, you're dead. And that's the sad part about the truth. If you really sit down, you know the truth. You know that you're holding on to this place and existing in this state of mind because you're too damn scared to face the truth, and you're too damn scared to climb out of that pit and get back into life. And I see a lot of people exist in this same place, especially in today's world. But the one thing that I realize is if I can help one person with my story and what I'm going through, maybe that person can help somebody, and then that person can help somebody. And again, it goes back to that you're never going to get the results in 1 week or 1 month. It's going to be a compounded interest. And that's what this whole process is about. Okay? Starting to awaken, starting to compound the good things instead of the bad things. Write down a list of all the good things you do every day and write down a list of all the bad things you do, or the way that you exist. Maybe they're not bad. Maybe they're just existing, right? Like there, you got to balance it. I'm not saying don't ever play video games or don't ever do anything that has some type of joy, but like if you're coming home and running past your family and running past your wife or husband or whatever, whoever this is reaching, if you're going past that person because you don't want to deal with the truth, or you don't want to deal with that person today and face it, and you're going to hide in a video game or hide in a TV or hide in your phone, instead of putting it down and saying, hey, you know what? We're here together in this relationship. And at some point we chose each other. At some point we decided to be together, and we allowed guilt and resentment and negativity and all this other shit to get in between us. How do we fix it? And they're going to say, I don't know, because they don't want to deal with it either, just like you don't want to deal with it. But you have to get through it, and it sucks. I'm not going to lie. It's insanely hard to sit down and communicate with someone and to become a new version of yourself. But the key is that you become a new version of yourself, not them become a new version of themselves. In time, hopefully, when you change, they'll change. And that's how you have to do it, okay? I can't continue. It's like I can't make students show up to my academy and train. I can't make students show up in front of me and train and communicate and want to put the work in. I can try. I can sit here and I can make podcasts, and I can sit here and I can advertise and market. But at the end of the day, it comes down to you. It comes down to you owning the truth of where you're at in your life and saying, you know what? I'm being lazy. I'm existing. I'm not doing shit to get my life to the next level. I'm not doing shit to get my body to the next level. I'm not doing shit to get my mind to the next level. I'm not doing shit to get my family to the next level. I'm not doing shit to get my business or my career to the next level. I'm existing. And when you can get to that reality and start to actually change just some of the habits, okay? So many of us, and I even caught myself in these last few months sitting here scrolling reels, right? What the hell is a reel going to do for you? What is watching some political debate? What is watching some stupid whatever it is that you're watching on your reels, okay, doing to improve your life? Now, I'm not saying that there's not, I've really enjoyed sending some of these reels to Mandy lately. Like there's funny, cute reels, or there's relationship reels, or it's they're entertaining, and it kind of makes us both enjoy each other, the content, and in a way it connects us. But the best way for us to connect is to actually connect, to show up for each other. Okay? There's a lot of areas that I've failed at in these last couple months in many different ways. And it's put me in a place of depression. Instead of meditating, instead of reading the Bible, instead of sending people positive messages, instead of trying to connect with my students, instead of trying to help my business, instead of trying to help myself, right? Because I felt like I wasn't getting the success that I wanted out of those areas, I started falling back into the areas that I existed before. And that, I believe, is what started to create the depression inside my mind and leave me stuck in my bed for days, not having the drive to actually wake up and achieve anything. And you can live in that place for a very, very long time. Or you can make the choice to get the fuck out of bed and actually start doing something with your life. And that's the truth. It's time that we all awaken from this area of existing. It's time that we start compounding our life in a positive direction instead of a negative direction. And it's time that we get outside of this depression and we make something out of our life. That's the whole purpose of this series, to seek after life. Okay? So, I appreciate you guys watching the content if you're watching it. And don't be afraid to connect with me on Facebook or Instagram. On Facebook, it's Chad Michael Hawkins. On Instagram, it's EP Legends, EP Legends. On you can send me a message on YouTube, wherever you're seeing the content. If you're struggling, or if there's something that you need help with, or there's something that you want to communicate with, okay, by all means, send me a message, because I want to make a message. I want to change my life, but at the same time, if it can change somebody else's life, I want to do that too. So I'm just saying to start being honest with yourself, and it's going to suck in the beginning. It's hard. This year has been some of the coolest moments of my life, and this year has been some of the worst moments of my life. And I don't know what I would honestly change at this point, but I know that I guess the one thing that I would change is to climb out of this pity party and to climb out of this victim mentality and this depression, and to get back to an area where I'm actually creating the life that I seek and that I desire, and that I'm choosing the areas that I picked to choose at the beginning of the year, which still in this moment matter the most. And the areas that I've been choosing don't mean shit. So please like, subscribe, follow for more content, and let's touch base. If there's some area that you're struggling with and I can possibly help, send me a message. Thank you guys for watching this content.